You have successfully joined the webcast. Please stand by. The meeting will begin shortly. You have successfully joined the webcast. Please stand by. The meeting will begin shortly.
Good morning, everyone. This is Debbie Royce, Erie Canal Harbor Development Corporation's Corporate Secretary. I'd like to welcome everyone to this morning's meeting. Before we formally begin, I would ask everyone to please mute your line unless you're speaking. And we'll begin today by taking a roll call of the directors to ensure we have a quorum present on the line. Please say present when you hear your name. Chairman Robert Joya.
Present.
Shatora Donovan.
Present.
Connie Lyden.
Present.
Mike Vogel.
Present.
And then I believe we have Daniel Castle, directors to ensure as the designee for county executive polling cars.
That's correct.
And then Mayor Brown, were you able to join the call? And then I believe we have
he is not able to join this morning.
Okay. And do you know if Brendan Manhaffey was going to join?
I do not know.
Okay. Thanks so much, everyone. Chairman Joya, you're ready to begin.
Thank you, Connie. Good morning, everybody. I now call to order the meeting of the directors of the Erie Canal Harbor Development Corporation for Tuesday, October 12, 2021. Before we get started, I will ask that everyone please mute their phone until you are ready to speak. Also, for the record, I will ask that anyone wishing to speak, please be sure to state your name before you begin. I'd like to note for the record that in accordance with recently passed legislation, this meeting will be conducted by teleconference. I will also note for the record that the public was given the opportunity to comment on the agenda items by submitting their written comments by 4:30 p.m. on Friday. I'd like to state for the record that no comments were received from the public concerning today's agenda items. The directors have received the relevant materials in advance of today's meeting and are free to ask any questions at any time. Before we begin with the substantive portion of the meeting, I would like to ask the directors whether any has any potential conflict of interest with respect to any of the agenda items. If so, I would ask that you please make an appropriate disclosure on the record at this time. Hearing none, our first item of order of business is the approval of the minutes of the directors' meeting of September 20th, 2021. I'd like to remind everyone to please state your name before speaking. Any questions or comments? I will entertain a motion for approval.
Mike Vogel, so move.
Seconded.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed?
Aye.
Thank you. Debbie, I think you heard that Macau Matua is on the line now?
Yes, thanks so much.
Okay, thank you. The motion carries. I would like to now call upon Steve Rinaldi to present the next item on today's agenda, a request for the corporation to enter into a contract for the general construction services in connection with Terminal B renovation project at the Buffalo Outer Harbor. Steve, when you're ready.
Thank you, Robert. Good morning, everyone. It's been almost a year since the board adopted a general project plan, or a GPP, for the Buffalo Outer Harbor Civic and Land Use Improvement Project that authorized a Phase 1 improvement project at Terminal B. As described in the GPP, Terminal B would be completely rehabilitated and adaptively redefined to create secure storage, operations and maintenance offices, public restrooms, and back-of-house operations, while providing the infrastructure, space, and utilities to support events and programming opportunities. The existing building facade and roof would be removed, with the steel frame and foundation remaining. A permanent stage / storage / green room, if you will, would be created on the eastern edge of the building slab, and the stage location would allow for improved support for outdoor concerts, festivals, and other event operations. The outdoor space on the eastern side of the site, adjacent to the lakeside complex, would be improved with soil amendments to cover contamination, remove invasive species, and provide new landscaping and hardscaping that allows for a space that is integrated with the building improvements. Overall, this project will remediate nearly 7 acres of contaminated land while removing invasive species, open new views of the lake while retaining enough of the structure to celebrate our industrial heritage, provide habitat enclosures to enhance the plant diversity and create a seedbed for migrating and nesting birds. It will increase multi-use trail network on the outer harbor by an additional half a mile, and it will allow for the continuation of events and festivals, concerts, and other large-scale gatherings in a water-enhanced setting that will showcase Buffalo at its best. With the oversight of our construction manager, Turner Construction, the project was broken down into 4 separate bid packages related to the various trades. On June 30th of this year, ECHDC solicited bids for 4 separate Terminal B renovation contracts in the New York State Contract Reporter. And so before I go through the specifics of this item, I just want everyone to be clear that this item, as well as item 3, 4, and 5, while each of these is an individual contract award requiring individual board approval, taken together, these will allow the overall renovation of Terminal B and its property. So item number 2 here, this is related to the general construction contract, for which a total of 4 bids were received on August 12th. Turner Construction recommends awarding the contract to Javen Construction, who was found to be the lowest responsible bidder. For nearly 40 years, Javen Construction has been in the business of providing Western New York and beyond with services in the construction industry. And the company, which began in 1982 and is still family-owned, provides a wide variety of general construction services and performance oversight. Pursuant to state finance law and the corporation's policy related thereto, staff has considered the proposed contractor's ability to perform the services provided for in the proposed contract, and we've consulted the list of offers determined to be non-responsible bidders and debarred offers maintained by the state. Based on that review, staff considers the proposed contractor to be responsible. Javen Construction's scope of services will include select building demolition, new steel framing prep, as well as painting, the building enclosures, interior finishes, and some select site work adjacent to the existing concrete foundation. This contract is a lump sum, an amount not to exceed $7,365,000, as delineated in the plans and specifications dated on June 30th of 2021, and it does include alternate number 1, along with 4 addenda that were provided during the bidding period. The project is slated to begin later this month and is expected to be completed by September 1st, 2023. ECHDC does intend to issue a notice to proceed to Javen in the amount of $50,000 to begin submitting material information based on some long lead items. Empire State Development funds shall be used for this project. ESD's non-discrimination and contractor and supplier diversity policies will apply to the project. The contractor, shall be required to solicit and utilize minority and women-owned business enterprises and service-disabled veteran-owned businesses for any contractual opportunities generated in connection with the project, and shall be required to use good faith efforts to achieve an overall MWBE participation goal of 30% and an SDVOB participation goal of 6%. The directors made a determination of no significant effect on the environment for the Buffalo Outer Harbor Civic and Land Use Improvement Project at their meeting on November 9th of 2020. This determination addressed all aspects of the proposed project, including construction activities covered under this contract. Therefore, no further environmental review is required. The directors are requested to, 1, make a determination of responsibility with respect to the proposed contractor. 2, to authorize the corporation to enter into a construction contract with Javen Construction for an amount not to exceed $6,950,000 plus a $415,000 contingency for a total contract amount of $7,365,000, and to authorize the corporation to take all related actions. Based on the foregoing, I recommend approval of the requested actions. Robert? You may be muted.
I am muted. Thank you. Thank you, Steve. Are there any questions or comments from the directors with regard to this item? Now that you can hear me. No, I'll entertain a motion for approval.
Mike Vogel, so moved.
It's McCall Matua, seconded.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. The motion carries. Steve will now present a request for the corporation to enter into a contract for site work construction services in connection with the Terminal B renovation at the Buffalo Outer Harbor. Steve?
Excellent. Thank you again. As just described in the previous item, the overall Terminal B renovations project was broken down into 4 separate bid packages. And the the site work construction contract, which we're about to discuss, was also solicited for bids on June 30th in the New York State Contract Reporter. We received a total of 5 bids for this project on August 12th of 2021. And Turner Construction recommends awarding the contract to Union Concrete, who was found to be the lowest responsible bidder. For over 70 years, Union Concrete has been in the business of providing Western New York and beyond with services in the construction industry. They have worked on a wide variety of site construction projects, as well as projects in the city of Buffalo and for various local and state government agencies. Pursuant to state finance law and the corporation's policy related thereto, staff has considered the proposed contractor's ability to perform the services provided for in the proposed contract and consulted the list of offers determined to be non-responsible bidders and debarred offers maintained by the state. Based on a review, staff considers the proposed contractor to be responsible. Union Concrete scope of services will include clearing and existing paved site surfaces, establishing site parameters, excavating for site utilities, installation of landscaping and fence materials, as well as new surface walkways, drives, and all site enclosures. The contract is a lump sum contract in an amount not to exceed $3,964,400. Again, as delineated in the plans and specs dated June 30th, 2021, including alternate number 1, as well as 4 addenda that were provided during the bidding period. The project is slated to begin later this month and to be completed by September 1st of 2023. We will also issue a notice to proceed to Union Concrete in the amount of $50,000 to begin to submit material information based on long lead items. Empire State Development Fund shall be used for this project. Non-discrimination and contractor and supplier diversity policies will also apply to this project. The contractor shall be required to solicit and utilize MWBEE and SDVOB for any contractual opportunities generated in connection with the project, and shall be required to use good faith efforts to achieve an overall MWBE participation goal of 30% and an SDVOB participation goal of 6%. Again, the directors made a determination of significant effect on the environment for the Buffalo Outer Harbor Civic and Land Use Improvement Project in November of last year. The determination addressed all aspects of the project, including these construction activities covered under this contract. Therefore, no further environmental review is required. The directors are requested to make a determination of responsibility with respect to the proposed contractor, as well as authorize the corporation to enter into a construction contract with Union Concrete for an amount not to exceed $3,614,195 plus a contingency of $350,205 for a total contract amount of $3,964,400, as well as authorize the corporation to take all related actions. Based on the foregoing, I recommend approval of these requested actions. Chairman?
Thank you, Steve. Are there any questions or comments for the directors with regard to this item?
Mr. Chairman, this is Mike Vogel. A question for Steve occurs because of our experience at Terminal A. When we did the design work on this, especially the concrete work around the back of Terminal B, was the increasing severity and frequency of lake storms a consideration in that design?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, all of the site work takes into account the increased severity of the storms. We have retained a fair amount of the hardscaping that is out there to be reused, and then we will make improvements to any of the pathways or asphalt drives that remain in place.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions? I'll entertain a motion.
Shatora Donovan, so moved.
Mike Vogel, second.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Thank you. The motion carries. Steve, please continue and present the request for corporation to enter into a contract for electrical construction services in connection with the Terminal B renovation project on the Buffalo Outer Harbor. Steve.
Okay. As with the previous two items, on June 30th of this year, ECHDC solicited bids for the Terminal B renovations project and the contract reporter, and a total of 3 bids were received on August 12th for the electrical construction contract portion. Turner Construction recommends awarding the contract to Fry Electric, who was found to be the lowest responsible bidder. For over 75 years, Fry Electric has been in the business in Western New York. They began in 1945 and provide a full spectrum of services in the electrical and communications field, and they have worked on a number of projects in the city of Buffalo, as well as have worked on some of our previous projects. Pursuant to state finance law and the corporation's policies, staff has reviewed Fry Electric, and based on that review, staff considers the proposed contractor to be responsible. The Fry Electric scope of services will include demolition of all electrical and communication systems, routing the new electrical service from Furman Boulevard to the Terminal B site, distribution of electrical services within the site, including exterior lighting and miscellaneous electrical connections for equipment. The contract is a lump sum contract in an amount not to exceed $1,440,600. Again, this is delineated in the plans and specs dated April 5th of 2021, along with 4 addenda that were provided during the bid period. The project is slated to begin again in October here, and it should be completed by September 1st of 2023 with the others. Empire State Development funds will also be used for this project. And again, EFD's non-discrimination and contractor and supplier diversity policies will apply to this project, looking to achieve an overall MWBE participation goal, once again, of 30% and an SDVOB participation goal of 6%. As with the first two, the determination of no significant effect that was made in November of last year on the Buffalo Outer Harbor Civic Land Use Improvement Project applies again to this contract. Therefore, no further environmental review is required. The directors are requested to make a determination of responsibility with respect to the proposed contractor, to authorize the corporation to enter into a construction contract with Fry Electric for an amount not to exceed $1,372,000 plus a contingency of $68,600 for a total contract amount of $1,440,600, and to authorize the corporation to take all related actions. Based on the foregoing, I recommend approval of these actions. Chairman?
Thank you, Steve. Are there any questions or comments from any of the directors with regard to this item?
Connie Lyden, I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
Steve, my question parallels Mike's question regarding weather severity, especially concerning site lighting. Was this addressed in the design process?
We have included additional site lighting throughout the perimeter of the site to light the pathways, as well as sort of the performance area or area where some of the different festivals would set up. And we've also included additional site lighting back through the lakeside complex, so that if you're coming from the bike parking lot, if you will, the pathways will be lit back from there, as well as from the Terminal A parking lot. So we've increased site lighting throughout the entire area.
Okay, not so much the amount of lighting, Steve, but basically the strength of it, if it'll hold up to the change in weather and the storms.
Yeah, absolutely. The most of the lighting is on poles, and we have actually spoken to State Parks with the newer lighting that they've used in their parking lot, and some of the issues that they've come across. Is also just reviewed the site lighting we've had at Wilkeson Point,
right,
to make sure that both of those sites are holding up well, and we certainly expect ours to do just as well.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Any other questions? I'll entertain a motion for approval.
So moved.
Second.
Mike Vogel, second.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Are any opposed? Thank you. The motion carries. Steve, how about a request for the corporation to enter into a contract for mechanical construction services for Terminal B? Steve.
Okay, so this will be the sort of the fourth and final item as it's related to the construction. Again, on June 30th, we did solicit bids for the mechanical construction contract as well. We received a total of 3 bids on August 12th, and Turner Construction recommends awarding the contract to MKS Plumbing, who was found to be the lowest responsible bidder. MKS Plumbing began in 1994. They've worked on a number of projects in the city of Buffalo, various school districts, local and state governments, and they provide a full spectrum of services in the mechanical and plumbing fields. They too were reviewed by staff in pursuant to state finance law and the corporation's policy related thereto, and staff considers this proposed contractor to be responsible as well. MKS Plumbing's scope of services will include the demolition of existing plumbing systems, rerouting the new mechanical and plumbing from Furman Boulevard back to the Terminal B site, distribution of gas and water lines within the site, as well as installation of the mechanical systems within the enclosed buildings and installation of all plumbing fixtures. This contract is a lump sum contract in an amount not to exceed $230,000, as delineated in the project's plans and specs, along with 4 addenda provided during the bidding period. Again, this project, like the other 3, all expected to get underway later this month and to be completed by September 1st of 2023. And once again, we are using Empire State Development funds. ESD's non-discrimination and contractor and supplier diversity policies will also apply to this project. The contractor shall be required to use good faith efforts to achieve an overall MWBE participation goal of 30% and an SDVOB participation goal of 6%. Like the first 3, this project's environmental review is included under the determination of no significant effect from November 9th of 2020 for the Buffalo Outer Harbor Civic and Land Use Improvement Project. Therefore, no further environmental review is required in connection with this action. And therefore, the directors are requested to make a determination of responsibility with respect to the proposed contractor, authorize the corporation to enter into a construction contract with MKS Plumbing for an amount not to exceed $210,000 plus a $20,000 contingency for a total contract amount of $230,000, as well as to authorize the corporation to take all related actions. Based on the foregoing, I recommend approval of these requested actions. Robert?
Thank you, Steve. Any questions or comments from any of the directors with regard to this item? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion for approval.
Mike Vogel, so move.
Second?
Connie Lyden, second.
Thank you. All in favor? Aye.
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 Any opposed? Hearing none, thank you. The motion carries. Steve, now present a request for the corporation to enter into a contract amendment for the architectural and engineering services for Terminal B on the Outer Harbor. Steve.
Thanks, Robert. Let me just take 1 second to sort of wrap up those first 4 before we jump into this. I do want to thank Turner Construction for all their help with the bidding, pulling this together, de-scoping all the different firms. I want folks to know that, I guess if you're keeping track at home, we've totaled slightly over $12 million in contracts, including the contingency. We're going to be investing $13 million of Empire Development funds in Terminal B. This will include 28 companies. So in addition to the 4 main contractors, we also have 11 minority business enterprise, 8 women business enterprise, and 5 SDVOB construction companies or subcontractors, if you will, all involved. So that is going to be an awful lot of work for firms here in Western New York over the next 2 years. So we're excited about that. This item, Robert, is, as you mentioned, the authorization now to enter into the consultant amendment for architectural engineering services. This too is related to the same Terminal B project. It was back in November 16th of 2017 that we advertised for the Terminal B improvements project back in the contract reporter. And we sought to retain professional architecture, engineering, landscape, and surveying firms to provide design and construction service for the project. It was then on January 16th of 2018, we received 9 proposals. We reviewed and scored them with our selection committee, and Bergman Associates was selected. The board approved retaining Bergman for the initial master planning work. And then back in August of 2019, we amended that contract to complete the construction documents and help with the bidding services. And basically, here we are with the final project scope and the construction schedule known. Now we would like to amend Bergman's contract again for construction administration services. This was laid out as task G of the original RFP that went out way back in 2017. Bergman Associates is a New York State full-service design firm with an office in Buffalo, and we will continue to work with their team leader, Andy Rouse, and project manager, Steve Kushner, who have been involved with this project from the get-go. The consultant agreement will cover fees and expenses for construction administration services through December 31st of 2023. So that they'll be on board to allow us to complete those first 4 construction contracts as well as closeout documents. The contract amendment amount with the Bergman team to complete that scope of work shall not exceed $300,000, while the total contract amount shall not exceed $2,379,335. The funding source for this amendment shall be the New York Power Authority relicensing agreement. ESD's non-discrimination and contractor and supplier diversity policy will also apply to this contract, and we'll have Bergman using good faith efforts to achieve an overall MWBE participation goal of 30%, while the SDVOB participation goal is set at 2%. The directors made a determination of no significant effect on the environment for the Buffalo Outer Harbor Civic and Land Use Improvement Project back in November 9th of 2020. This determination addresses all aspects of the project, including architectural and engineering activities covered under this contract. Therefore, no further environmental review is required in connection with this action. The directors are requested to make a determination of responsibility with respect to the proposed consultant, to authorize the corporation to enter into a contract amendment with Bergman Associates for an amount not to exceed $300,000 for a total contract amount of $2,379,335, and to take all related actions. Based on the foregoing, I recommend approval of the requested actions.
Thank you, Steve.
Yep.
Are there any questions or comments from any of the directors? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion for approval.
So moved.
So moved.
Second?
Seconded.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Steve will now present the final item on today's agenda, authorization to enter into a contract amendment for the professional environmental services at the Buffalo Outer Harbor. Steve?
Thank you, Robert. We stick with the Outer Harbor here as well for the last item today. And again, it was back in December of 2017 that the board authorized us to enter into an agreement with Lyro Engineers for environmental services related to operations and maintenance of our Outer Harbor facilities. The consultant was originally selected through a competitive mini procurement process using the parent corporation's pre-qualified list of environmental consultants, and after evaluation of 3 proposals from firms selected from that list. Over the course of its work to date, Lyro has developed a unique familiarity with the Outer Harbor facilities, their concerns for regional environmental permitting, and the nature and extent of key issues related to monitoring and mitigation of environmental risk associated with our facilities. As a result of this work, it is considered very efficient and prudent to extend their services by amending additional funds to them. Accordingly, we have received a contract reporter exemption approved by the parent corporation on September 9th of this year for the proposed amendment. The scope of work is identical to the original contract, which has 4 major pieces of scope, but primarily here in this last year, they will be addressing compliance responsibilities, including inspection of the Greenbelt Shoreline Trail and bank stabilization projects as required by our partners at New York State DEC, and also to provide what we refer to as on-call services. A lot of these have been related to invasive species, erosion control, sometimes even asbestos, has waste, mold, lead, things that pop up on the site that we need to address. The contract amendment to complete the above, or to complete that scope of work, shall not exceed $55,000, including reimbursables, for a total amended contract amount of $369,500. The funding source shall be the New York Power Authority relicensing agreement. And of course, the non-discrimination and contractor and supplier diversity policy will apply to this initiative. The consultant shall be required to solicit and utilize MWBEs for any contractual opportunities generated in connection with the project, and shall be required to use good faith efforts to achieve an overall MWBE participation goal of 30%. Staff has determined that the requested authorization, which involves the undertaking of engineering and environmental investigations and services, constitutes a Type 2 action as defined by the New York State Environmental Quality Review Act and the implementing regulations of the New York State Department of Environmental Conservation. No further environmental review is required. The directors are requested to make a determination of responsibility with respect to the proposed consultant and to authorize the corporation to enter into a contract amendment with the consultant on the terms contained in these materials, which shall be not to exceed $55,000, including reimbursables, for a total amended contract amount of $369,500, and to take all related actions. Based on the foregoing, I recommend approval of the requested actions. Chairman.
Great, thank you, Steve. Any questions or comments regarding this matter?
Mr. Chairman, this is Mike Vogel. I have a very minor comment, so I'll defer to any substantive ones first.
No, go ahead, Mike.
Okay, I don't even know if it makes any difference, but there is just a very minor discrepancy in the resolution between the numeric and the alphabetic versions of the total contract price. It's in a difference of $3, but it is sort of an error in the resolution.
Yeah, I see that, Mike, on page 5 there in the middle paragraph. It should read $369,500. The 3 should be removed, just for clarification. I'm sorry about that.
No problem. Just want to be precise in the resolution, I guess.
Thank you, Mike. Any other questions or comments? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion for approval.
Shatora Donovan, so moved.
Second?
Mike Vogel, second.
Thank you. All in favor? Aye.
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 Any opposed? Hearing none, thank you. The motion carries. Before I adjourn the meeting, I would like to take a moment to commend Steve and his team for getting us to this day today of not only managing the complications of 6 contracts for Terminal B, but also managing what I would say, the chatter and unnecessary saber rattling and carnival barking of several elected officials. And then dealing with the not complicated, but the intricate process of managing it through the Common Council and the mayor and that. So, Steve, to you and your team, remarkable job. And as you can attest from my comments, you've kept a very calm and respected position, while mine has not been that same manner. But we are dealing with the two senators that wrote and had held press conferences without conferring with us. Their information, quite frankly, is inaccurate, and we confirmed and will continue to do that. And I know, Steve, you're meeting with the director of Art Park within the next week or so to make sure that everybody understands that we are not competing, we are not conflicting with either Wilson Foundation or Art Park, and I think we're on the right track. And all I can tell you is the 21st Century Park for the Outer Harbor on May 20th, 2019, wrote me a letter and said something to the effect, the presentation at the Birchfield was gratifying for many of us, etc. The consultants did a masterful job of including the desires of a vast array of stakeholders. And I just want to thank everyone involved in getting us there. And this is a pretty exciting day for all of us. So I'll entertain any other comments if folks are interested, but if not, I will entertain a motion to adjourn this meeting.
Mike Vogel, so move.
Second?
Shatora Donovan.
So moved. Thank you, everybody, for your participation today in today's meeting. Thank you.
Thank you, Robert.
Thank you, Robert.
Thank you very, very much.
Thank
Thank
you.
you very much, Chairman.
Thank you.